want to show you a word that's very important. It's used by, especially by politicians and the media, the mainstream media, to sort of act as a form of double speak. It's a word, it's a very clever word, and it's one of those words that can be used in a way that explains something in a different light to what is assumed. And I've got a sample here for a start on this word include or including. This is not a word, that's the sign, but I've got the two renderings of it here, because we are also going to check the meaning of this in Black's Law Dictionary. This is the legal term of include, and this is the lawful word, the proper English noun, the written noun. This word include can be a primary tool in doublespeak. So let's have a look at the meaning of doublespeak. Doublespeak. Doublespeak is a language that deliberately obscures, disguises, distorts, or reverses the meaning of words. Doublespeak may take the form of euphemism, in which case it is primarily meant to make the truth sound more palatable. It may also refer to international ambiguity in language or to actual inversions of meaning. So as you can see, the word include, what its meaning or what it does is it excludes what is not included, but it totally excludes what is not included. But for the masses or for the illiterate, they may assume that it is a part of what has already been included. And therefore that would leave the illiterate or the masses with an opposite presumption of what has actually been said. This is a way of using this word include or including in such a way that you were probably never aware of the legal meaning of it. And this sample, I'll just go through the sample first. We've got one here. 1,000 doctors, including Dr. Spock, claim that fluoride is good for your teeth. Now when you see that, and you see this all the time, especially politicians and mainstream media will use this word, you will assume that 1,000 doctors, as well as Dr. Spock, claim that fluoride is good for your teeth. But when you use this word include or including, what it does in a legal sense, and you will also see this on a bill, why is the word includes in the bill, is because the minute the word include is used, what is mentioned or what is said is included, and what is not said is excluded from the bill. And it is also a legal meaning of excluding things that are not to be spoken about or not to be incorporated within a statement. So in this statement here, we've got 1,000 doctors, including Dr. Spock, claim that fluoride is good for your teeth. What he's saying is 1,000 doctors, including Dr. Spock, excludes 1,000 doctors. And you probably won't believe it. But when you use the word include, from this point on, what is included? Dr. Spock excludes all of the other doctors mentioned in this statement. Now when you use this word including in Black's Law Dictionary, as long as it's used with 1,000 doctors as well as or also including Dr. Spock, then you can include Dr. Spock and including the 1,000 doctors. But it must be said that 1,000 doctors and including Dr. Spock or also including Dr. Spock claim that 1,000 people, or that 1,000 doctors as well as Dr. Spock, have stated that fluoride is good for your teeth. Now what they can do with this in a political sense is, if the politician wants to pass some law that states 1,000 or 2,000 doctors agree with fluoridating or medicating the water supply. If he states it in this system here, what he's saying that they could get one Dr. Spock, who may even be just not a real doctor, and make this statement. And what he's saying is that one doctor is all he's actually legally speaking about. So he's excluding the other doctors by using the word include. It sort of covers his ass in a way, so that the 1,000 doctors, or his claim that 1,000 doctors agree with the fluoride, his claim is not actually true. He's actually claiming that 1,000 doctors have nothing to do with the decision of Mr. Spock or Dr. Spock.
This is doublespeak, by using words that may give the illiterate a false impression or false presumption of what has in fact been legally stated or legally said.
Now, if you keep your eye out and start listening to the media, the mainstream media, and especially politicians speak. But there was one incident where Obama did a speech, and he went through the blur and then ended the speech with including you, or yes, including you, and pointed at one of the people in the crowd. And what he did by that, in a legal sense, was excluded everything about his speech and included one anonymous person in the crowd, which in a legal sense just annihilated his, or covered his claim, or debunked his own claim, or lied in a non-lying way to the audience. What it is, it's doublespeak, or a form of deception when you're using this word. So in this little incident here, this is a form of doublespeak, and we'll go into the dictionaries and I'll show you what the dictionaries are doing in relation to doublespeak, the word include, and also the legal meaning of include. And once you start to get your head around this word, you will start to read government documents in a different light and a different understanding. And when a government document claims what it includes, then you know darn well that everything else is excluded. So it's just something to keep your mind vigilant on what politicians and the mainstream media are doing, because now, as we all know it, our governments are no longer governments, they are private administrative companies, and a lot of them are not deriving from the de jure countries that we were all born onto as nationals. And to get these tricks and these deceptions across to us to make us believe that they are the government, they employ or deploy a lot of these word speaks, these double speaks, or these words that can be easily confused by the masses if you don't know the legal meanings of these words. So we'll go now and we'll just have a look at some of the meanings, the legal meanings of these words.
This is taken from Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. Include, to shut in, keep within, to confine within, hold as in an enclosure, take in, attain, shut up, contain, enclose, comprise, comprehend, embrace, involve. The word including may, according to context, express an enlargement and have the meaning of and or in addition to, or merely specify a particular thing already included within general words theretofore used. So as you can see, the word is very specific. It's a very accurate word and must be used very carefully, because when the word include is used, it excludes everything that is not mentioned. So if you want to add something into the word or into the statement, then you must make it specifically clear that something has been included, or something and something else has also been included. This is the maxim of inclusio exclusio, or the word include. The inclusion of one is the exclusion of another. The certain designation of one person is the absolute exclusion of all others. So this is the maxim of the word that is very clear and precise, and explains that once the word include has been used, it excludes everything that has not been said. It is a legal term. Inclusive, embraced, comprehended. Comprehending the stated limits or extremes, opposed to exclusive. This is the Interpretations Act 1901 that defines the meaning of Australia. What is Australia? The word include is used in these acts to specify exactly what includes Australia and what is not included in the meaning of Australia. Australia means Commonwealth of Australia, and when used in a geographical sense, includes Norfolk Island, the territory of Christmas Island, and the territory of Cocos Keeling Islands, but does not include any other external territory. Now, in a legal sense, this is very important, because what they are saying is the land mass of Australia is not included in any definition of what Australia is. And this may have some very good reasons why the administrative agencies of Australia that are foreign can never be accused of taking over or invading the land of Australia. And what it may have done is that the original inhabitants of Australia, which are the people that are born here on Australia, have agreed to enter into the foreign administrative processes and left their own dominion and their country of Australia. So if you were born on the real Australia, but left the real Australia and became a citizen of some foreign corporation calling itself Australia, then how did this happen? Did they set up a well-armed counterfeit police force? A police force that we assumed was the police of our land-based government, our de jure government, but was in actual fact a foreign force that enforced the banking policies of the foreign corporation. Was this police force really a terrorist organisation that terrorised the people of nations, the true national people of their lands, into stepping over into these foreign corporate administrative companies, and in return have been plundering and racketeering and taking the mineral and the energy wealth of our lands? I mean, these are the things that we have to start really looking into and being vigilant about. Because when you ask any of these police officers for their name, their dates of birth, their insurance details, their ABNs and other identification information, they refuse. Now, this is a very interesting article by our so-called Parliament of Australia. It's research paper number 3 space 200304. Now, grammatically, there's something a bit strange about this document as well, where it says we are Australian, and then the after Australian, there's a hyphen between it. It's a capital T, which is grammatically wrong. Then it goes on to state constitution and deportation of Australian-born children. Now, this document goes on to identify in Table 1 and Table 2 just what a citizen is and a national is, and that's what we're going to have a look at. Not sure how legitimate this document is anyway. However, it's their opinion on what a citizen is and a national is, so we'll have a look what they're saying about this. Now, according to them, a citizen is a
is someone born in Australia, with at least one parent who is a citizen or permanent resident. And here we have what defines an Australian national, which is very interesting. Again, here comes the include words. So an Australian national includes any citizen and arguably any non-alien non-citizen. So an Australian national is not just a citizen, but also a non-alien non-citizen. This is the evidence that there are two political standings within our system, but we are never told about the other standing. So as you can see, the power of this word include, this sign includes. What's included excludes everything else. That's the maxim. And that's why they use these words in a form of doublespeak when politicians are trying to get across things that are not really, that they don't really mean. To me, it's been a disturbing journey, starting back in 2008 when I questioned the Ergon Energy Bill, the validity of the Ergon Energy Bill, which is the power company up here in Cairns. And I won a court case simply on the fact that Ergon Energy could not make any claim that the bill that was sent to me was valid in relation to its grammatical standing. When it got into court, Magistrate McFadden screamed at the marshal, Darren John Brace, for not responding and not answering a question, not responding to a question. That left the magistrate in a position where he could not make any other ruling apart from that the Ergon Energy Bill was invalid. It was void. It had no grammatical standing. In 2010, the same questions were put to Magistrate Pinder in relation to the Queensland driver licence and its standing, with the names appearing not only in all uppercase text but back to front as well. And before driving without a licence charge could go ahead, we had to establish whether or not the driver licence was valid. And he couldn't answer the question, which placed the whole court case into a form of estoppel by conduct, where the conduct of the court could not validate its own documents. So how could it press charges, or how could it go ahead with a charge when it simply could not answer the question, is the driver licence valid? The three questions that related to it was, why was the name back to front? What was the type of all uppercase text that was used? Because it didn't appear in the Oxford's manual of styles. And the third question was, what styles manual was used in order to construct the Queensland driver licence, the state driver licence? He then offered to drop all charges if I would accept the driver licence as it was. But I couldn't accept fraud. If the driver licence was a fraud, then to accept a fraud, you are just as big a criminal as those who created it. So I didn't do it. The last order in 2010 from Mr. Pinder, from Magistrate Pinder, to the prosecution was to take that man back to the prison, give that man back his property, let that man go, and never touch that man again. They were the words that came out of Mr. Pinder's, Magistrate Pinder's mouth. The only trouble on that day is that my Land Cruiser, it was about probably a $48,000 Land Cruiser, probably worth $30,000 at the time, was already sold by Queensland Police before the court case had gone ahead. They were so cocksure of themselves that they were right. They were so sure that all of their statutes were valid. They were so sure that their government was a true valid governing entity. Yet, when the questions were placed before the magistrate in the court, the whole thing fell over, just on its grammatical standing. And when you look back through all the acts and the interpretations acts, and then learn what has really been said by the use of these words, such as include, that excludes all else, it's the people in government that have misread the system. They believe the system is what it is, when it doesn't really exist at all. And it only relates to those who accept the system. It relates to those who think that this type of all uppercase text writing is English. But those who question it say, well, is that English? And if it's not English, then what is it? And then what's it doing on a document, on a court document? What's it doing there? And of course, that's when the things get hazy, when magistrates can't deal with it because they're upholding a fraud. The goons, the police, the state police, those very people that didn't believe this, that don't believe me, were actually upholding the fraud of the courts, the fraud of the parliaments, the fraud of those politicians, their parties. And yet, when it came down to the question, the grammatical question, how did it grammatically stand? It fell over. The whole thing fell over. To me, it's sad. It's upsetting because all of those people that are in government, all those people that are in the police force, the federal and the state police, those people that act as magistrates and all their lawyers that have studied at law school are Australians that are upholding this fraud. And then when someone comes to them and opens their eyes to it, to explain, well, what's happening here, they then turn against people like me that simply asked a simple question, is it valid? Well, if it's valid, then say it's valid. Yet these are our fellow Australians that are doing this. And in a real sense, those fellow Australians that have actually gone against us and believed and upheld this fraud, then they are in treason. They are traitors to the people of Australia. And once they find out that this is a fraud, they only have 14 days to get out, to leave it. And if they remain there with this system and believe that this type of all uppercase text is real, and if they really believe that this land here that we are standing on is Australia, when their own interpretations acts have told us it's not Australia, not this Australia, their Australia is something else completely, then if they've told us all these things, then what are you doing there? Why are you in it? Why are you upholding it? And to me, that's a sad thing. In 2016, I was brutally attacked by a mob of Queensland police. I was charged for stalking and terrorist-related and gun charges. They all knew that none of these were true. Even in the court, when I had to cross-examine the 4 police that brought the charges, that were the charges, they were conned into it by the head of CIB to make up these charges. And yet, I'd never met them before, never seen them before, didn't know their phone numbers, never stalked them, didn't even know them. Yet they went into that court case, up onto that stand, ready to lie on behalf of the system that they served, the foreign corporate criminal lie that they were involved with. They had to uphold it. And they were willing to throw someone that had no criminal convictions at all, that just simply approached them to try and sort it out. I warned them, I said, we've got a problem here. And they tried to put me in prison for 10 years. Not only that, threatened my family, threatened my life, all for me to shut up about their fraud. These Australians wanted me to be quiet about it. And that's a sad outcome, to go through all of this since 2008, 2007, up to now, all these years, to find where the fraud is, where it sits in the Interpretations Acts and in the grammatical standing of the Chicago Manual of Style, 16th and the 17th edition. We found the fraud. We found how it works. And they don't like it. But whose fault is it? Was it my fault? Are they going to try and shoot the messenger? So, I'd like to just point you to another video coming out in a couple of weeks' time. This is more work done by Rowan and some of his friends, Gypsy and a couple of other friends I won't name now, that have looked further and further into what Australia is, what is included as Australia. But this video is just based on you knowing the real meaning of this word, and the maxims of this word include, this sign include, this legal word and this common law word here include. And when you know this word, the meaning of it and how it works, then the next video that Rowan has done, you are going to understand that video even more. Again, it's a sad case that we've discovered all of this, and I'm not sure what Australians that are involved with these offshore corporate fictitious governments are going to do. I'm not sure what they're going to do or their plan is. But at least you, the people of Australia, especially the people of the United States, and the people of other countries such as Britain, England, Germany, France, and many others, even in China, the people of China, you should know what's going on so that you have a better understanding in order to make your own decisions on how you want to live your life and what sort of involvement you want to have with these governments that are passing themselves off as true national governments. There's one thing that you have to remember about Hitler. They say he murdered 6 million Jews and Gypsies and whatever. But the real truth of it is that all of those people were German nationals. Those Jews, those Gypsies, those old people, those people that were that couldn't cope with life, they were all national German citizens. A Jew was not from another country. The Jews were nationals. So in reality, he murdered his own citizens first, the Jews and the Gypsies. So never forget that. When you say 6 million Jews were killed, they were also German nationals. And never forget that when Hitler paraded through Europe, he was not just funded by Germany, not only the estates of all those dead German nationals that he had murdered, but also funded by the Bank of England and the US Federal Reserve and many large US corporations. They were international corporations. They weren't even American, they were international. And the other thing you've got to remember about that man is that he wore the Jolly Roger on his uniform, which is the skull and bones, the skull and crossbones, which is the symbol of pirates. Pirates are from the sea. Pirates are international. They are not national, they are international. So just remember that these corporate governments, these new world orders, these UN forces, they are international corporations, just like Hitler was.
and being international, they have no lands. They are not nationals. They are internationals. And when you look at the word international, it is a communistic system. Communism, where all of your rights and all of your dominion and your ownership to your lands will be wiped out. And this is what the New World Order is all about. And the only way to get around the truth of the New World Order is to have you programmed into believing that it's a good thing for you and how wonderful your life is going to be. But I can tell you that communism has a history of death, starvation, and destruction. Hitler, they say, was a fascist, but he wasn't. He was a socialist, a communist. So never forget these things of the past, because the more you know about the past, the better chance you'll have into the future. So I'm going to leave you with this. This is a dangerous word. It is a word used in doublespeak. And what is included in the word excludes all else. So let it be a warning to you that every time you see or hear this word in a speech or on mainstream media or by a politician, you prick up your ears and you have a close look at that, because you will know that what is being said is a good chance that is not what is being said.